Hi, my name is Chad Carnes, and welcome to the first ever episode of Empower D365, where we take on the biggest gaps and the biggest deficiencies of Dynamics 365 for operations. These are the things that on every customer somebody complains about. This is something that the customer thinks they bought that they don't have, and how I highly encourage you to get out in front of these things if they are a requirement for your client. And today I could not start this blog series without starting out with my favorite, or should I say least favorite, questions that I'm asked. And usually it ends up being something like this. A CFO comes to me and says, I just bought a $3 million ERP system and I can't seem to they're telling me I can't get gross margin by customer in the ledger. I just want to see revenue and cost of goods sold by customer. You're saying I can't get that. The answer is no. And the other answer is you also can't get that out of manager reporter, okay? Major gap. Some other gaps here are purchasing. Purchasing says I bought $10,000 of goods, yet I have $19,000 in miscellaneous purchasing expense. PPV. I want to just be able to run a PPV subledger report to show me vendor and PO, but I can't. It's just not there, okay? Because it comes down to one of the biggest gaps you have in D365 and something that is really challenging and something that we closed here at Empower, and it's probably our number one feature and benefit, and that is ledger transactions do not have the needed customer and vendor detail out of the box. Users can only see this if they drill down into every single transaction. Month end is killer. Variance analysis killer. And every time we've implemented this, we seem to increase month end by 4 days. But again, this is something a lot of people don't know they don't have until it's too late. Okay, so we're going to break this issue down. We're going to really review this issue. We're going to take you to the key places in the ledger. We're going to talk about some workarounds that can help, but not get you all the way there. And then we'll show you our tool set. We'll show you the magic button, which is in every Power BI report we build, we have a Power App that connects users, so it's a seamless interface. But we have a magic button that points every report we build back to the base data to prove that our data is right. So let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and jump in here. All right, so we're going to go and jump in the issue now. Basically, we're going to the ledger here, and there's really two places that I send all of my users, okay? One is the trial balance, okay, and one is the voucher transactions, okay? Trial balance basically can give us a higher level summary by account or by account and financial dimensions, okay? And here I'm pulling up 3 accounts, okay? So in the examples we're going to use today, I'm going to bring up my PPV account, okay? And then I'm going to bring up my 2 miscellaneous expense accounts. So basically we're going to solve for number 2 and number 3 today. Basically, we're going to pretend like, hey, somebody wants to know why PPV is so high, okay? So when you're in the trial balance, you can drill through here, but here's the problem, okay? When I go and drill through there is no PO, there's no vendor, there is no packing slip information. There really isn't anything here telling me what, really what that $227,000 was for, okay? That's a problem. So now we're going to go and look at so we went from the summary to the detail. Now we're going to go to the detail directly, and then we're going to work our way back up to the summary, but I'm going to go ahead and put in the same accounts here. Okay. And basically, we're going to see all of the detail. What's key about this is, what you'll see is these are the 2 main sources. Voucher transactions is the base data source for all things ledger, okay? And really, that's what you need to tie back to. Any kind of reporting, any kind of report you build, if you're not tying back to this grid for the ledger, then you're doing something poorly, okay? But you'll notice here, I don't have vendor or customer anywhere in here, so I have to go to click original document. That's 1. Okay, so I've got this document number. I don't know what that is. I've got this other document number. I don't know what that is, okay? Well, that's actually the packing slip in the PO, but now I've got to click, okay, that's my 3rd click, all right? Now I can finally see the PO, but I still don't know which line. Is it both lines? Is it just the bottom line? Is it the top line? So I'm going to go back to the other one here. Again, none of that is at the overview. Okay, it makes it really, really difficult to research any kind of variance or any kind of account reconciliation. It's a major gap and it's a major flaw, and it's probably one of the biggest selling points of our Empower process and our Empower toolset, which we'll show here in a second. Okay. So again, the other big thing that I just want to point out to everybody is I'm looking at a PPV account. Well, PPV account is a system account. It's a subledger account, and you'll notice here, do not allow manual entries not checked. That's a problem, okay? That's another reason that can throw us out of balance. All of those should be checked, okay? So let's give you a couple of things, a couple of workarounds that you can look at here, okay? We're gonna go back to voucher transactions. I can't emphasize enough how important this is, okay? And one big thing that will help you out is it doesn't give you everything, but I always point people at the posting type. Now, this is not in this grid. you have to personalize and bring this in, okay? But why is the posting type so important? Okay, well, if you notice on this transaction here, if we scroll to the right, you'll notice one of the posting types is purchase price variance, meaning that came from an actual PPV transaction. And you'll notice another one's a ledger journal. Well, I shouldn't have a ledger journal transaction for a PPV transaction. Like, the only way I should get PPV is if I receive something at a cost that's higher or lower than my standard cost, okay? So I'm gonna go into the posting profiles, and I'm gonna show you where that PPV account's set up. So my general rule of thumb is if I have any kind of account or any account set up here in the system accounts, then I have it locked down for do not allow manual entry. Okay. Really, if you need to make an adjustment to this account, you really should have a PPV adjustment account where you can do reversing entries or other things to try to mark something down until you get your invoice in. Okay. Just basic things, but that's one thing that can help you. The other thing that can help you in the voucher transactions is there is some functionality here around descriptions, but more importantly, first, vouchers, okay? We like to name all of our vouchers. I'm not a big fan of smart numbering, but this is a place where it really makes sense. So you'll notice that one came from a GNL, a general journal, and the other one came from a PIV, which is a purchase order invoice journal. Those are really helpful. The other thing that can almost get you there, okay, but not for every transaction, is you can set up descriptions, okay? What this will do is, like, when the transaction posts, it could grab the vendor or the PO, but sometimes it can't grab these things, but it'll try, and it'll put it in the description. However, just having something in the default description isn't good enough, okay? That's not like a single field, and you can set up different types of transactions differently, and even when you do all of that, not every vendor transaction or every customer transaction gets flagged. It's a problem, okay? It's just you can't get there for a host of reasons, but it really comes down to that main part, which is, hey, so what you end up doing is you end up having ledger data and operational data, and nobody knows what's right and what's the same. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is, and as I drill through here, okay, is I'm looking at I'm looking here at the purchase order that got created, and I'm drilling all the way back to it. Okay, and basically I'm just trying to give you how hard it is to get to the vendor and the purchase order. You can't do that for every single transaction at the end of the month. I mean, you can, but man, it takes a lot of work. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at our Empower process here real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and pause this. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and bring it back for a second here. All right, just real quick. Bring it back just to the thing here. Okay, so part of what we do is we create a new tile and like you'll see in other videos, a new tile called the Power Reporting Process. Okay, Power Process Reporting, and basically, like, this is where we embed all the tiles, okay, that we want, and also there's our Power app. Okay, we click that little button because I don't like using it in the small window, but again, this just helps people and helps users with a better interface for Power BI. So instead of logging into Power BI, they log into here, okay? So now, here's the big difference, all right? I'm gonna switch my date here, okay? And basically I now have a variance analysis, which you don't get, okay? I'm gonna change it in my current month and my prior month. So it's comparing current month to prior month, year to date to prior year to date, etc. Okay, this is a perfect variance analysis that would take a lot of time. But here's the magic, okay? Here's the key part. I'm going down here and I'm going to go look at my the miscellaneous expense. I'm also going to go look at my PPV and see where I went wrong. So again, we want to understand in the PPV, like, what threw us off. We also want to understand, hey, is our miscellaneous expense 19,000 or is it 10,000? Okay, that's really what we're trying to look at here. And again, we want to do that without having to drill into every single transaction, because that's just not doable, especially if you're a high volume of transactions. Okay. So what I want you to see here is that if you'll see everything in blue and white here, okay, that's stuff you'll see in the voucher transactions. It's the exact same. We even named it voucher transactions, okay? But here's the key part, okay? What we did was we extended the voucher transactions to include the fields that occurred, all right? Now, we built some huge loop queries here and all that, but if you'll notice here, now all of a sudden on these transactions, I have, in blue, I have customer, okay? And in orange, I have vendor. All right. Okay. So basically, now I can see all of my transactions here, and I know exactly which vendor. I know. So this one was a vendor transaction. The bottom was a vendor transaction. But hey, the other transactions here, I had some manual entries to that account, which I really shouldn't have had. Okay, that shouldn't have posted. But again, I get to see all of this in mass here. I don't have to drill into each transaction individually. again, if you've ever had to reconcile an account or check variances and explain variances, like this is really helpful. If you didn't have this, you'd have to go pull almost every invoice and drill into every transaction, and that's just not doable, especially if you're trying to close month end quickly. All right, and you'll notice here that my description says, what happened was with my $19,000 here is I ended up moving about $9,000 out of office supplies and into miscellaneous expense. Okay, so real quick here, a lot of people will show you Power BI reports like this. Okay, but the question I always ask is, how do I know they're right? Something like sales. Okay, are we looking at the ledger? Are we looking at orders? Are we looking at shipments? Are we looking at invoices? Are we looking at just sales order? I mean, they always show these nice dashboards, but they don't ever really have a tie out. So my point here is have a tie out. But again, this is the magic button. This is where we need to prove to you where this is. So for every report we build, we have these magic buttons down here. So if you'll notice, I'm in my report. I'm going to click on the magic button here, okay? And that takes me back to the source data. So every report we build, we have magic buttons that take you back to the source data. So there's never any confusion about what the right data is. We prove it. We always prove that our data is right. So you'll see the same transaction here you saw up in the other one. The other nice part that we do is we make it the connection the other way as well. So if you're hanging out here in the voucher transactions, okay, and you want to go see the GL, we embed the Power App here as well, okay? Thank you so much for joining us in our first episode of Empower D365. We promise these are only going to be about 5 to 6 minutes going forward. But hopefully you understand a little bit here about this major issue, this major gap. I highly recommend you get out in front of this and be proactive with your clients, or it's going to be a really tough thing to overcome. What you saw today was our Empower Process Reporting tool, where we took Power BI and D365 and we bring them together with a Power App, and we bring them together by being able to prove the right data. If that's something you're interested in, please reach out to us at Empower D365 at empowerax.com. We'd love to talk to you. Even if you're not in the market for a reporting solution, if you have any questions about, we're really just using this to help you back into maybe a solution. If you're stuck or you have a problem, because I know every single implementation is going to face this, reach out to us. We're happy to share code, ideas. We're happy to look at code. Whatever you need to get over the hump, well, we're here to help, because during these times, it's really important for us as a community to do good and to do good by each other. This is what this podcast is for. This is what this blog is for, and we appreciate you joining us, and you appreciate you joining us on this journey. And please join us again next episode of Empower D365.